day 3.
We're at Wednesday 1.
He gets it the other day. I'm going to get it as he gets. No question in my mind.
He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix, most expensive league in force.
For safety and
got people on the defense talking about it. You better get your ass the ball. You better get your ball.
I just gotta say, when it comes to mortality,
For sure, and they would have thrown it off because
And this guy gets off you.
And I go to bed every night. G-Man, I promise you that we got a What is up, Cowboys Nation? Boy, Mike Tag here. Welcome to a start of free agency. So I'm not sure if they got a lot of things going. Obviously, it's a quiet day. Before we get rolling, make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that share. I'm rolling solo. I think I had a little technical issue with Twitter. So I don't know if anyone is on my Twitter, but it looks like Twitter's been having a lot of problems, a lot of glitches, and a lot of issues. So hopefully you guys, if you're on Twitter, you're able to see it. If not, you guys are going to have to catch the replay, but they're having some problems up there. So hopefully you guys are all good, man. It's been a crazy day as always in free agency. Just never a crazy day for the Cowboys. They don't really do a whole lot. So I don't know if it was really expected. I don't know if you guys, expected the Cowboys to get a lot of crazy stuff. What's your opinion? Do you think, is this kind of going as expected, or were you thinking the Cowboys would be stronger out the gates? What's up, Rick, Doug, Edgar, Vince, my man Cuts? Hope you had a good time with Frankie. Looks like you did. Malcolm, all you guys, man, definitely appreciate it. Running solo. I think, like I said, I think Twitter's having some issues. So we're going to have to kind of get the replay going on there. We'll get it figured out, but it looks like they're having some problems. So definitely hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit the share if you're rolling in, and let's just kind of get this thing started. Let's get it right. So let's see here. I got to put the work in. Cuts understands, man. When you do this work, man, you got to be able to share it. And free agency starts, and the Cowboys kind of, they stay pat. What's up, my man Frankie? There he is. There's Doug. There's Frankie hanging out. Hopefully he had a great time at Cuts' bar, Cuts' hangout, whatever we want to call it, but it's definitely a badass place to be. I can't wait till I go. But Cowboys, the first thing you guys saw, obviously, is, our guy Jordan Lewis signs with the Jags. And, first thing when you hear it, there's a lot of people pissed off, a lot of people upset, rightfully so, when you hear it, right? I like Jordan Lewis. Thinks he's always been a baller, always been tough, battled through injuries and all that. But then, you got to be realistic. And then you look at the contracts, like 3 for $30, $20 million guaranteed. You pay Diggs. You're going to have to pay Bland. At some point, a young guy is going to have to step up. And that's really, unfortunately, this business that we're in with football. It's I was just telling a buddy of mine, it's the haves and have-nots. And the haves are going to get it. You got a certain portion of your team that are the haves, and you got the rest of their have-nots. And those are the guys that you got to build up the meat and potatoes of your team. And I just think the price tag for him was just too steep. And we're going to get into some free agency and some guys available, because there's just been a slew of defensive tackles that have gone. And that was the one position that I wanted to see. Yeah, highest paid. When did they become a nickel? Like only nickel, not the highest paid cornerback, the highest paid nickel. Is that because he left the Cowboys? Now he's the highest paid, nickel. But, you can't have the highest paid guys at every position. If you look at some of the moves they made today, you're like, man, that Osa deal wasn't so bad. That Osa contract wasn't so bad for the Cowboys, because you're not going to be able to get the highest paid guy at every position. I sure would love to, but you know, it is sad, but I'm happy for them. I mean, you want these guys to get an opportunity to get maximize their income, maximize the revenue, and looking at what happened with the free agency frenzy with these quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Darnold, $100 million for 3 years. Justin Fields gets $40 million for 2 years. Quarterbacks are going to get paid. You don't know where Rodgers is going to go. Do we dare say that Aaron Rodgers might be back in playing against the Cowboys, being a nemesis? Could the Giants really sign him, or would Pittsburgh sign him? I think it would be a bad move for the Giants to sign him. The only good thing about it is maybe they wouldn't draft Cam Ward, because I don't want Cam Ward to go to the Giants, because that would make me upset. But for these other, for the other teams, I mean, you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and his name isn't even on the list. I mean, he's had, a couple crazy years with the Jets, obviously getting hurt that first year and not so great the others. He just doesn't look like him. It looks like he's hit the wall in the downward slide, but he's a nemesis to the Cowboys. And who do you want, Edgar? You want the Rodgers to go to the Giants? Man, I don't want nothing to do with Rodgers. He's kind of like, he's like when Rocky, fought Apollo Creed, and Apollo Creed beat him, and Apollo Creed wanted that rematch so bad. And Rocky, Apollo's trainer said, man, we don't need this kind of man in our life. I don't want nothing to do with Rodgers. He's a thorn in my side, and I just want to get rid of him. Get rid of him. So, but we'll see what happens. But a lot of guys signed, and we're going to get through it. And really, I'm going to go back and forth. So I'm going to have to go to my thing. I have to get my glasses on because I'm going to need some help. But want to get your guys' opinion, and really looking at, let's see, I got to get my glasses on. So you guys, what happens when you get old? You can't see close up anymore. And I'm going to share the screen. But interior defensive line, I mean, I think a lot of us would say interior defensive line is a position of need for these Cowboys. I mean, I think we'd all kind of say that. Yeah, I think Rodgers is going to end up at the Steelers, Rick. But look at the value that these teams put on defensive linemen. Not so much the contract, but almost all the defensive linemen that were free agents, all the top ones, are pretty much gone. You got Hargrave, you got Levi, you got my man Calais Campbell from the U, who's like 100 years old, but he's always consistent. Could they welcome back Malik Collins, who was a Cowboy and left? You got Larry. I'm not even going to pronounce that name. You got Graham Gibbons, Lopez. I mean, you're getting near the bottom of the list. But the Cowboys, like Poona Ford, was a guy that we talked about. He signed a 3-year, $30 million, $10 million a year. That's when we were talking about with Osa. Could you have signed a couple guys, to make up for him? Look at B.J. Hill. Grady Jarrett signed he's older, but he signed a reasonable deal with the Bears. But you're seeing these defensive linemen, Milton Williams. I mean, he had a big payday. Hargrove would be a nice addition. Definitely need some big bodies in there. Fat, plump, whatever you want to call them. We need some interior linemen. And that's the thing that probably, if I'm going to be honest, as a fan, kind of got me a little disappointed, because I'm like, oh man, we didn't get that defensive line, that defensive tackle that we really, really wanted to get. So that's the part that kind of concerns me with the Cowboys. Not really lack of moves, because I think we all figured they weren't going to do much in the first day, but it's really the lack of movement on the defensive tackle side, because I think we say that's a position of need. And you're looking at what we've lost, right, and what we've gained, and you're thinking of position of need. Now, cornerback, we did some mock drafts. My man Mikey Schefter, he got a lot of heat from you guys. Maybe not you guys in the chat, but a lot of people watching and all of that. He got a lot of heat from them for taking a cornerback in the first round. I mean, do you dare maybe have to go cornerback in the first round? Because now I'm thinking cornerback, wide receiver, running back in that order in the draft, if maybe that plays out. But you've got Diggs, who you don't know when he's going to come back. I mean, Bland came back from an injury, played fine. It was broken foot. So I don't think there's anything that's going to hold him back. But, Kalen Carson, they drafted last year. He was hurt. I mean, then they just threw a bunch of bodies in there. So cornerback is now could be a position of need. And something that they're going to have to think about should they put the money on a premier cornerback with that 12th pick, knowing that you don't have Diggs for whatever it's going to be. Definitely disappointed we lost J. Lou. It's tough. They weren't going to. I mean, like I said before, they just weren't going to pay. They got to pay Bland. You paid Diggs. There was just no way that they were going to be able to pay another guy that kind of money. But, looking at that position and, get your guys' opinion on it, the position of cornerback, obviously, we'll get into some of the Eagles. They let go of Slay. You have Rasul Douglas is still out there. Murphy Jr. is still out there. Fuller, Samuel Jr., who some, wanted Dallas to draft him out of Florida State. Stephon Gilmore, could he make a return? The ageless wonder. Jonathan Jones, another guy's been around the block. But look at all the cornerbacks and that big fat guy with the tattoo show. But look at all the cornerbacks that are gone. So again, you're talking about position of need. This was kind of a position of need for the Cowboys, and nothing's happened yet. And the first wave is typically they're going to overpay, right? You're going to overpay for some guys. But you'd like to see the Cowboys looking at, they said, I called it a surgical approach. Stephen Jones, what did he call it? Something aggressive, selectively aggressive. I call it be surgical. Be very particular about what you're trying to get. Don't try and blanket everything. But to me, wide receiver, running back, I would build it through the draft. I mean, it's a running back so deep. I mean, I'm getting my running backs in the draft. Receiver, if you want to get a veteran guy, and we can look at some of the receivers that are out there. If you want to get a veteran guy, okay, I can deal with that. But I'm not paying top dollar. I'm going to pay a first-round money, second-round money on a receiver and get him in here because you can find a pretty good impactful receiver in the first 2 rounds that has high potential, right? They all got potential till they're on the field, but the success of a receiver in college has been a lot higher than, years past because of the offense is a lot more advanced. It's a lot more advanced. The college offense mirrors the NFL a lot to where it's not the wishbone and all that other stuff where you had, my man Calvin Johnson playing at Georgia Tech. They're running the triple option. So yeah, the front office has got to put the burden on the rookies. That's what I don't want to happen. The free agency is not over. It's really not even official yet. This is kind of like the approved tampering period. But these guys obviously have been talking for a while. Otherwise, they wouldn't be signing these contracts, within 5 minutes. But there's still time, and it's that second wave. So, I mean, if we're looking at receivers, and I'll put this up as soon as I get it up on the board. You're looking at receivers. It's going to be the usual suspects, right? It's going to be the veterans, and those are the guys that you guys know. Lockett or Cooper Kupp, I'd be happy with that. You heard, Brandon Cooks talking about, he would be open to coming back to Dallas, but he felt he just wasn't used right. And I mean, there's something to be said for that. But I go back to the injury to Dak, this last season. If you looked at the year before, they started getting some stuff going with Brandon Cooks, and then obviously the injury kind of sucked. But I mean, it's the cast of characters that Amari Cooper, do you bring him back? A lot of people want him back. I'm like, I don't know. I'd maybe start fresh. Stephon Diggs, I would stay away from. Slayton, he's a veteran. Keenan Allen's always kind of there. Didn't have a great year in Chicago. You wonder if the walls finally hit him. Obviously Brandon Cooks, Noah Brown, you bring him back. I mean, he definitely not looking at doing that. Obviously Tyler Lockett. Tim Patrick's an interesting guy. Always has big plays, but always gets hurt. Zay Jones, fast receiver. Juju is, he's just been consistent. But a veteran like that, if you get him for value, I would take someone like that, right? Because you're going to draft your receiver, I hope. And then that just kind of puts, gives at least some comfort level to that. So we'll see. We'll see. Who is that? Is that my man Kelly? Is that my man Kelly talking all that mess? He's under incognito in the Cowboys cave. Yeah, hopefully he's got some glory hole. I mean, we need to get some glory hole. He's been preoccupied, but we got to get some glory hole. But definitely seeing what's going on in free agency, you'd love to see the Cowboys be active right from the start, but that's not their MO. It's never been. But I don't know why, because you see teams making good deals, not blockbuster, not like these crazy contracts, but they're making good deals. And I don't know why you have to wait. Like, what does it say? You got to wait till another day or next week and kind of let all the dust settle and then go bargain basement shopping. That's the part that I don't understand. That's the part that I don't get. And I had another slide, but I guess, let me see if I got it. Let me see if I still got it, because I wanted to talk about one other thing. And let me put it up here real quick while we're just chilling in the cave. This is laid back. Twitter is kind of messed up. So I got my guys hanging out on YouTube. Definitely appreciate it. And Facebook's kind of messed up too. But yeah, I guess I didn't save it. But I did have a overlay of the Eagles. And the Eagles, they lost some defense. I mean, obviously they released Slay, but they lost Williams. They lost Sweat. They lost Rodgers, who was another part of, their secondary. But again, they drafted some young guys. So that's what they expect to step up, right? Give them another year, but you're going to lose your depth. So all these teams kind of feel that when you do it, but it's how do you make it up? And that's the part the Cowboys, that's the $1 million question for the Cowboys. Because I'm telling you, if they do nothing in free agency and they put all this pressure on our rookies again to have to be superstars, I may be a hockey fan. I may have to turn in my tickets and become a hockey fan. Is that true? Is that breaking news, or is that wishful thinking from Kareem? Is that the case? Did the Cowboys make a move? Is this breaking news? The North Carolina running back, is that rumors or not? Help me out, because I'm not on the news. He went to the Patriots, you liar. But anyway, I'm not I would not get a running back in free agency. I would take him in the draft. There's too many good running backs in the draft. And they talked about maybe bringing Rico back, and I wouldn't mind Rico. He's just not a game breaker. I think they need to get a game breaker. Oh, Twitter's working now. Is Twitter back on? What is going on with Elon Musk on the biggest day of football? They had Twitter kind of fall down. We're trying to make announcements, trying to make things happen. And now it still shows, Twitter shows, my video still shows down on Twitter. I don't know. But hopefully it'll get fixed. But yeah, I don't know what the hell. So is that true? To Dallas for real. Okay. So Dallas signed Javonte Williams. He's a running back, 1 year, $3 million. That pretty much is going to say the end of Rico in Dallas, because you got to think they're going to draft a running back. Now, Javonte Williams, I did say he stinks, but now that he's a Cowboy, we got to change our tune. He has some upside. When he wasn't hurt, he can be a guy that could be a problem. I watched him run all over my Miami Hurricanes when he was at North Carolina. It was him and another running back, the one that went to the Jets the same year. I can't remember Michael Carter. But we get a signing live in the cave. Breaking news. Should we print out the Super Bowl tickets? Get us. We're playoff bound. We got a running back. But like I said, I need to draft a running back. Williams is good, but I don't. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. Gallup is visiting the Skins. I'd stay away from Michael Gallup. I mean, if he wants to go to the Skins, that's fine. I'd stay away from Michael Gallup. He's got too many injuries and too many bad knees. So I am passing on Michael Gallup. But more importantly, we got a signing and we got ourselves a running back. We got is it true or are people screwing with me? But all you guys said it's true. All you guys said it's true. But I'm gonna draft a running back. I'm gonna pair him with someone. He's not a lead guy. I'm gonna pair him with someone. So at least we got something positive to shut everybody up from saying the Cowboys didn't do anything. You guys forget they signed Osa. They signed him to an $80 million deal. They got $80 million deal. They gotta sign Parsons, but they got 50-something million. And the crazy thing is when they sign Parsons, it's going to free up more money. So the Cowboys need to be active, and they need to be active in a smart way. It's like I said, you don't need to go crazy and break the bank, but we've got some guys here that we need to sign, and we've got some guys here that the Cowboys need to get positions to fill. And let's see if we got any breaking news, because you guys did break that one. I want to make sure Slayton stays with the Giants on a 3-year deal now that Twitter's working again. Barton gets a 3-year deal with the Titans. The Chargers and cornerback Jackson get a 2-year deal. I don't think I saw that. Hobbs gets a joining the Packers, the former Raider, on a deal. So you're seeing a lot of these cornerbacks are pretty much going. And the Cowboys, I mean, dare I say that Mikey Schefter was correct, and the Cowboys possibly will be taking a cornerback in the first round. That would change everything. If they took a cornerback in the first round, you got to go receiver in the second round. Could that be Restrepo from Miami? And then you cannot take any chances. You have got to go get a running back in the third round, because they don't have a fourth round pick. And unless they move down in the draft in the first round and try and get some picks back and maybe get a fourth back, extra third, or whatever they want to do. Yes, we saw that. Javonte Williams signed with the Dallas Cowboys, running back out of the Denver Broncos, had some injuries, but he was one of the guys that I really liked out of North Carolina, probably because he ran for like 200 yards against my Hurricanes, but he's just he hasn't lived up to the hype yet as far as being a running back. I mean, he's had flashes, but you're looking at his numbers last year, 139 carries, 500 yards, 3.7 yards a carry. Not that exciting. He had a pretty strong rookie year, 4.4 yards a carry, almost had 1,000 yards on 200 attempts. Injured in 2022, did basically nothing. 2023, he ran for about 775 yards. You got to remember that these Broncos teams are terrible, so I don't want to be too hard on him. But last year, a very good Broncos team, he had a lot of injuries, only got 139 carries, so 500 yards. So he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. I mean, he's only, has 600 carries, 2,400 yards rushing, averaging 4 yards a carry, which is kind of that's kind of like the average standard of a running back. He's 24 years old, so he's still got some years left. Signed a 1-year deal, not really that big, but yeah. And my man JR, you're speaking my language. We get Johnson in the first, a cornerback right out of Michigan, if my memory serves me right. Now you're getting Restrepo in the second, Damian Martinez in the third. I mean, what more could I ask for than getting me 2 Hurricanes on this team, 2 guys who produced at a high level, produced for Miami, the all-time leading receiver in yards, catches, and everything else in Restrepo. The dude just don't drop nothing. Now, he fumbled once. That wasn't his. We'll let him slide in the Syracuse game, but he don't drop nothing. And Damian Martinez is a bruising back. We got my man Kareem, who I know is a Broncos fan. He said Williams played well last year. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Yeah, Williams and Hampton. You get two North Carolina guys. I know Doug's not a big North Carolina Tar Heel fan, but you'd have to like that. But I'll take Martinez too. Hampton's a good one, but I would take Martinez. And you know we need some Canes on this team. I don't have to tell you guys. When Canes are on this team, we won Super Bowl championships. Go down the list and go look it up. We won't count the 70s because Miami wasn't any good then. But go look in the 80s and the 90s. We had Hurricanes on our team. You need that. You need some of that swag, man. You need that South Florida swag. So there's Bugsy again, just reconfirming what we've been talking about. 1 year, $3 million deal. That means the end of Rico. Now, here's where I would say, Cowboy fans, this is where I would be a little nervous. If you see them re-sign Rico, then I'm not happy because that means they're probably not drafting a running back. At least if they are, they're really going to wait late. They're not going to put a premium on it because they just paid two guys. So I think it's the end of Rico. I think you bring Williams in, you pair him up with a Martinez, with a Hampton, with a Genty, one of these top running backs. There's a lot of running backs. That's why I say I wouldn't even touch Genty only because I feel so good about the running backs in this class that I just hate to spend a 12th pick on Genty. But if he's there, I think the Cowboys are going to have a hard time passing up on him. I think the pressure will be there to take him. I'm hoping he's gone. Maybe one of the cornerbacks slide, make Mikey Schefter look like a genius after getting laughed at. Yeah, he's gone. And then we go get a receiver in the second, maybe Restrepo, like I said, and go get a running back in the third, maybe Martinez. Maybe we get a little Miami connection, get some swag into you. Maybe I'll get some love from these guys. We want to be part of the Cowboys cave because they know I love Miami. I love those guys. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, you're seeing what's going on with free agency, a lot of craziness. It's just a lot of what's going on. But looking at the division, right, because you got to win the division first. If you don't win the division, then nothing else matters unless you can get a wild card. So looking at the division, and we'll pull this up and then get my glasses on so I can see. I don't know if we're going to need to refresh this, but hopefully there's some stuff going on. But I wish they broke this down by division. But if you're looking at what's happening, and you're looking at Washington, and disregard all the exercise we got going on there. But looking at what's happening, Washington very active. They traded for Tunsil. They re-signed their own guy Bates. Kinlaw they signed 3 years, $45 million. Putting a lot of stuff on interior, but they let go of Jonathan Allen, so that's a hurt. But they replaced him with Kinlaw, and obviously he's trying to save some money. They re-signed Zach Ertz. They re-signed Bobby Wagner. They traded for Debo. They re-signed their kicker, and they re-signed a punter. So they've made a few moves. Obviously the Debo trade and the Tunsil. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl, left tackle. So I mean, that's a premium. The Eagles re-signed Zach Bond, 3 year, $51 million. They extended Barkley, so they gave him a lot more new money, which could come back to bite him in the ass. Got a lot of carries last year. We'll see what happens. They released Slay. They released Bradbury. Hopeful they're rookies who shined will basically fill that in, but you're losing depth now, and that's important because you saw what happened with injuries. Traded away Kenny Pickett, and they got Dorian Thompson, which is kind of nothing. So, but they lost two big guys, right? So they lost Sweat. They lost Williams. So, dare I say they got worse. And am I being rude? Because I didn't even look at the Giants. Is that me just telling you guys the Giants stink and we really don't care about the Giants because they're nobody? I think that's rude of me. I got to get better at that. So the Giants do what the Giants do, and they did nothing. So they got an interior defensive lineman. That's good. They re-signed DeVito. Hopefully he'll be the starter. That'll be a piece of cake. Re-signed their punter. Signed a cornerback to a decent contract. So Giants really didn't do a whole lot. And that's why they stink. So that's what they do. But let's see what we got going on in the chats. And I would say, that would be a move I would love to get. Who is the one guy that you guys want to see? They got to be realistic, right? We can't say, who's the one free agent that you guys want to see the Cowboys signing, now or by the end of the evening? I mean, Allen would be a choice for me because I think it's got to be defensive interior lineman, preferably. And I think Washington's gotten better with Debo and Tunsil. Losing Allen is going to hurt, but they've got a pretty stout defensive line. They still got a lot of guys out there. So, again, you got to see who they bring back. But they got a ton of money. But let's see who we get. Let's see. We get Allen is the name that I'm seeing. Defensive line is definitely going to be a priority, but I don't know if it's their priority. I know it's my priority. Hopefully it's your guys' priority too. Do they bring Kendricks back? I mean, he's out there. A Greenlaw linebacker. So I'd love them to bring guys that have some championship experience, deep playoff experience, Super Bowl experience, something that they can come in and impact the locker room. Carl Lawson, that's a guy I would love to see the Cowboys bring back. Does Tank come back? Dante Fowler's a free agent. You think that he'd go back to Washington because of the familiarity, but Khalil Mack was a guy I talked about this morning. I mean, he signs for $18 million. Josh Sweat, 4-year, $76 million. So if we're looking at these defensive linemen, you're looking at the edge rushers. A lot of your big ones are gone. Hassan Reddick, he signed with Tampa Bay. Malcolm Kuntz, he re-signed with the Raiders. Dio, I'm not even going to start it. He signed with the Bears. So Von Miller gets released. How many times have we heard Von Miller through the years coming to Dallas? Could this possibly be the time? Darius Smith was a guy that was rumored to Dallas a few years ago. Chase Young, I mean, he was at one point, he was the, premier, going to be the up and coming defensive end, had a great rookie year, injuries and, just lack a great play is kind of made him bounce around. Joey Bosa, obviously he's got skills, but got injuries that go with it. We talked about Tank and Fowler. Chauncey Golston, he's a guy that's underrated, and he's just a solid player. He's one of those guys, when I talked about those meat potato guys, he's one of those guys that I'm referring to. He does the dirty work. If you look at his pressures, he's up there. He's respectable. He does everything. He'll play all points of the line. He will do whatever is asked. Those are the kind of guys that you want. Did Greenlaw go to the Broncos? Did I miss him? I must have got that late. Sorry. So F him. He stinks. We don't want him anyway. He's a bum. Let him go to the Broncos. All kidding aside. That's a good pickup. Good pickup. And I mean, I don't know if it's a home discount. I don't think Osa is number one. And you saw what Williams was kind of like. He was the main guy that was the coveted free agent from, Milton Williams from Philadelphia. What did he get? He got $104 million, 4 years. So, right at about $26 million a year. Osa got 20. It's all about the guarantee. So you got to kind of see where the guarantee falls. I mean, Osa was about 12th to 14th in salary for defensive tackle. I think that's about where he is. I don't think he's had no Pro Bowls, which they don't mean anything anymore. All pros. I think he's just a solid guy with upside. And I think they did sign him with a good deal. Obviously, a good deal for him, but I think it's a good deal for both. Yeah, Greenlaw's gone. I guess he went to the Broncos. So we're going to have to, Rick, we're going to have to look at Kendricks. I thought Kendricks was solid with the Cowboys. I thought he played well. I'm not sure, the scheme with Eberflus, how, what he values, what he thinks. Typically, a lot of these guys like to bring back some guys that are familiar with the system. That was my shot in the dark on Khalil Mack, but obviously they want to. Does he beat his wife? Yeah, we don't want any of them. We don't want them troublemakers. I don't know if that's true. I'm not gonna confirm that, but we definitely don't want any troublemakers. If we got any troublemakers on this team, we got to get them out of here. But I would say it's always good to have a few. Now, I'm not talking about guys that are going to commit murder or domestic violence. I'm talking about some guys that maybe party a little bit, maybe do some questionable things. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, I mean, Jimmy Johnson always used to tell us guys, man, show up to practice every day, play hard. At midnight, just be in a bed. I don't care what bed you're in, whose bed you're in, just be in a bed. And so I don't mind some outlaws. I mean, you need that swag a little bit too. You don't want too much of it, but Michael Irvin wasn't a choir boy, but he won a lot of rings and a lot of national championships. So you just can't let it affect the play. You can't let it affect the play. So, but yeah. And yeah, Mike is guy too. And Osa's good, man. I think he's solid. I was happy. I didn't want them to overpay. I wouldn't have given them that $26 million that you saw Williams get. But I think $20 million, I think is a fair deal. I think it's a good deal for both parties. Hopefully they don't wait on Micah Parsons, because I think the longer you wait, the price never goes down. It always goes up. So that's what it is. And again, a lot of you guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe. We are on a path to 5,000. We're getting closer and closer every day. And, I have it out. When we get to 5,000, as long as it's before the season, I will be having a giveaway for two tickets to the Cowboys game. My seats, of course. My seats. Hopefully you take me with you. That way it's only one seat I got to give up. But it would be up to you guys. So hit that subscribe, like, share. Yeah, I mean, D-Law is not what he was, but he's still a very stout defender, especially against a run. Now, he's not going to get you double-digit sacks. Those days are probably over, but you can use him as a defensive tackle. You can use him as a pass rusher. He's very versatile. I'd keep him if the price is right. I'm just being honest. I think his leadership is there. I think I'd keep him. That's just me. I love Tank. I'm a big Tank fan. I feel for the injuries. Last year, the foot, that was just you hate to see that happen. You don't want to see injuries to anybody. But I like Tank. I think he's solid. I think he's good for the team. I think he's good for the locker room. I think he's good for the community, and all that kind of stuff ties in together. He's very accessible with fans. I mean, he just seems like a really, really good guy. So if the price is right, I'd take him, and I hope he's not going anywhere. But you're looking at what these edge rushers, where would you rank Tank, in some of these edge rushers? Like Kuntz, a 1 year, $12 million. Reddick, who I think would be better than Tank as far as if someone was looking at it. I mean, he got a $14 million. You got some other guys that were, maybe a notch below, or in the $5 million range. So, I mean, could you get Tank for $6 to $8 million a year? I mean, that would be fair. I mean, that would be fair. Greenlaw, a 3 year, $35 million. That's a good signing for Denver. All kidding aside, I think Denver's a team that they're going to be interesting, and we play them when we go to Denver, which you guys, it's just unbelievable to me. The Cowboys have not beaten Denver since 1992. You want to talk about a team that's had another team's number, and we only play every 4 years, so it's not like they played 100 times. And we're talking about some bad Denver teams that beat Dallas. I mean, teams, especially a few years ago, when last time they were in Dallas, that was probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. Absolutely beat the shit out of the Cowboys, who were arguably one of the top teams in the NFL. So Denver has our number, and it's going to be interesting to see. They're putting something together. And Sean Payton, a lot of people laughed that first year, but he's putting something together in Denver. I mean, he's putting something together in Denver. And it's all going to come down to the quarterback. I mean, you guys know this, man. It's a quarterback-driven league. And Jaden Daniels, great story, great kid. Obviously, I wish him the best outside of being better than Dallas. But that second year, it's interesting. A lot of quarterbacks show up on the scene and they put up big numbers and everyone's all great. It's just, can they sustain it? And some of these quarterbacks, I mean, Jordan Love took a dip. Stroud took a dip. A lot of these guys, it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I don't think he's going to make a living running the ball. Now, he can throw the ball, Jaden Daniels, but he's pretty frail. and he's not going to make a living running the ball. He won't be around. He won't be playing the NFL very long. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Oh yeah, he did. I was so pissed that game. I was at that game with my nephew, and he was a Broncos fan, and that was probably the worst game I've ever been to. I was just in shock. And the game was at noon, which I don't know if any of you guys been to a noon game in Dallas. Don't ever go. They're just, I don't know, they just feel weird. And the energy's not there. And thankfully we did our Cowboys Cape tailgate party. And usually we like to do the first home game. That way everyone's positive and feeling good. But the Saints were the home opener for us. And it was like 12 o'clock game. I was like, I'm not going to that, playing the shitty ass Saints. And then the Saints absolutely just annihilated us. I don't know what it is with 12 o'clock games. I'd be interested to see what the Cowboys record is over the past, 5 years on 12 o'clock games. But I got to think, it wouldn't be good. Yeah. And cuts. Yeah. You were there too. I mean, Denver, the thing I'll say, Denver, very underrated fan base. Probably one of the most passionate fans that I've seen. They travel well, win or lose, good or bad. I think they are a very loyal fan base. Great fans. I mean, great fans. Not saying that because of my family are Broncos fans, but just a good fan base. But we got to beat them. We got to beat them next year because I am absolutely over losing to them. And it was funny. I posted it on Twitter. Tony Romo is that game against the Broncos. That was another one. And my brother is a big Broncos fan. And we were really good. They were really good. So we always do like Superman movies, and we do the kneel match, right? If you lose, you got to kneel to Zod. And that game, I just remember the Cowboys started fast. Then the Broncos jumped on them. The Cowboys came back. And it was probably one of the best football games I've seen, just from a pure entertainment standpoint. But I always say is that Bronco game, to me, that summarized Tony Romo's career with the Cowboys, and NFL career for that matter. He was just about as good as you could ask. I mean, precision passing, unbelievable escapability, just everything he did was almost perfect. But in the end, when it mattered most, a fluke thing happened. He steps on the lineman steps on his foot. He doesn't get a good, get push on the ball, forces it, interception inside our territory. The Broncos, all they got to do is just run the ball a couple times and kick a field goal, and the game is over. And the game is over. And to me, and I love Tony Romo. The Tony Romo years, he saved this Cowboy organization. I mean, Jerry Jones and Steven owe him a lot. Obviously, he got paid a lot. But, I mean, you guys, those of you guys who remember, I mean, this team had no direction, was heading downhill. And then obviously Parcells comes in, Sean Payton is coordinator. They get Romo. But even those first Parcells years, you had Quincy Carter. Then they were going to try and get the Vinny Testaverde thing. And, they ran with that and the Drew Bledsoe. And you still had this Tony Romo sitting around. And, and then he gets the opportunity. I think he was against the Giants. They brought him in. And then obviously his first start was against the Panthers, and the rest is history. But he really did, to me, save the organization and got them back into relevancy, because they were at a point where, I mean, it was getting pretty dismal. It was getting pretty dismal. But yeah, we talked about it. That's how we got on the Bronco talk. We got Javonte Williams heading over to Dallas, so that, like we said, it probably is the end of the career with the Cowboys for Rico. Javonte, he's a good running back, but he's injured. He's just had a lot of injury problems. When he was healthy, his rookie year, he had almost 1,000 yards. I talked about it, Steven. Last year, I was told he played well, but he didn't get a lot of carries. Had some injuries. So he's going into his fifth year, I believe. So, I mean, I think he could be a 1-2 punch. My memory, most of him, I talked about it, was more in college. He went to North Carolina. It was him and Michael Carter just absolutely shredded my Miami Hurricanes, I think for 200 yards apiece, if my memory is right, or at least close to it. So he's got, I mean, that's where I know him. I don't really know him as much from the Broncos. I mean, he had that year, and I don't know if he's a step. I don't know if he's a step up. I really don't. I'm not going to say he's a step up. I mean, it's probably maybe equal. I mean, I don't even think. I mean, he's young. He's only 24, so he might be a little bit younger than Rico. He doesn't have a lot of carries on him, so he doesn't have a lot of tread on tires. I mean, he had some big games. I mean, he has that capability. I would say he's got more upside than Rico does. But I would say right now, Rico is probably more consistent going off of last year than he is. But if they don't draft a running back and get a real, like a legit young guy in here, then, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, tough years. Romo to Quincy Carter. Yeah. Vinny Testaverde, Bledsoe, Hudge. I mean, we went down the list. I mean, the Cowboys had a knack for these pitchers between, Chad Hutchinson and Drew Henson that were quarterbacks that went to play baseball, then wanted to get back to being a quarterback. Ryan Leaf, a lot of people forget Ryan Leaf was a Dallas Cowboy. And I actually drove to Dallas to Atlanta to go see his first start when they played Michael Vick. It was a rookie year, and we lost. Didn't get killed. I was surprised. We always played Vick pretty good, even though we were bad a lot of those years. They'd always beat us, but we'd always played them pretty well. But yeah. No, it's true. Broken tires before he gets miles. Yeah, I mean, it's it's not gonna set the world on fire unless he has some fountain of youth of his college days. But Clint Sterner, you guys are breaking out the old school, man. I lived them all, man. I lived them all. In the 80s, it was Kevin Sweeney. I don't know if you guys ever remember Kevin Sweeney. He was one of the scab quarterbacks who, we won those couple games, and they thought, man, we found our next Danny White, and yeah, that didn't turn out too well either. So the Cowboys. It's interesting. The Cowboys, are always looked at with the quarterbacks, right? They get the most attention, and you got Roger Staubach, obviously Troy Aikman, Danny White, you got Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. But you look at what the Packers were able to do. Obviously, Bart Starr, and then there was a lot of shitty years. But going from Brett Favre, going to Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, and I mean, the jury's still out on Jordan Love on, where he's at in history, but definitely looks like he's an NFL caliber type quarterback. The Cowboys, going from Tony Romo to Dak Prescott, that's pretty good. We'll see what happens, that third trilogy. And will the Cowboys draft a quarterback? I mean, that's one of the questions, and I think they will. And I like the kid from Syracuse. I think if you got him in the 5th round, I'd be pretty excited for his future. And I think it's a guy that they can groom a little bit and at least, if anything, be a guy that can be a capable backup with a lot of upside to where if he got an opportunity and if Dak was hurt and he showed his stuff, that you could trade him for a top pick, or if you ever moved on from Dak down the road. So, Babe Loffenberg, Gary Ogaboom, Steve Pallure. I mean, do we have to go down? Do we have to go down the list? Yeah, Genty. They're all right. Well, someone likes McCord. I mean, people forget he was at Ohio State. I mean, he's not like, some schlub quarterback. And he's like 6'4", and he can throw all the passes, and he had some big receivers at Syracuse, which didn't hurt. Good tight end. But, I mean, he put up some monster numbers at Syracuse and definitely was good. So, anyway, just wanted to jump on. I'm solo, so that's why I was just kind of rolling with a shorter show because I want to keep the rhythm going. But I did drop a couple videos this morning. I'll probably drop some more as free agency kind of goes on, give you guys my thoughts. But like I said, Javonte Williams signs with the Cowboys, 1 year, $3 million, running back from the Denver Broncos. Not a huge signing, but Probably just means the end of Rico in Dallas. His price tag maybe, and I can't see Rico getting more than $3 million, but you never know. You never know. But Hampton, there's a lot of good running backs, and we'll be doing another mock draft. Steve Pallure got a nice win in San Diego. Yeah, no, I remember. Pallure was another one, man. You're gonna get me talking Cowboys. I'll be out here for 2 hours talking about the old Cowboys, man. I love some of those teams, man. And I'd love to drop. I'm ready to drop some hype video. I don't know if I'm doing it for Javonte Williams, but if the Cowboys can do something to get me hyped up, man, I definitely appreciate it. But hey, I appreciate all you guys with the technical issues with Twitter all day, still going on some of the videos, hanging out in the cave. Definitely, as you're rolling out, hit that thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share, all that kind of good stuff. Kelly and I will be back Wednesday. We got a great show. We got Attack on the Cowboys. Used to be Dak Attack, but I think it's Attack the Cowboys. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. Great character, a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time. We'll have a couple more days of free agency. Get his opinion on a lot of stuff. Definitely want to get yours. So I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me solo. Go get Damian Martinez. Definitely. But more importantly, if you love the show, hit a like, hit a comment, leave a comment, your thoughts as well. That always helps the algorithm as well. Leave a comment in the comment section on YouTube, of course. I appreciate it. You guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.